to discover that.
Well,
And life itself is a paradox.
but one thing you said at the start, you turned
Yeah.
off the TV about 15 years ago. Back, let's go say before TVs, okay? Back before 1948 or 49. Let's go back before TVs. People had to listen to like radio. So instead of watching TV shows, they listened to radio shows, and they would sit in their living room, right, and close their eyes and imagine as this, radio play went on, they would imagine like a guy walking into a building and opening the door and the creaking and the footsteps. They'd close their eyes and they would see it in their brain. They had to think. Now, the problem is with TV, you sit there and watch it. You don't have to think. You just watch it. Most people go in a daze, really. They're not really even watching what they're watching, because if you asked them 5 minutes later what they just watched, they couldn't tell you everything. So, and when you get down even to the commercials on food or brightening your teeth, in that commercial, and people don't realize it, they have a sub-commercials of that commercial brainwashing you that you want to buy that product. And it's picked up in your brain without you even realizing it. That is what's scary.
It is scary, right? That a lot of these advertisers are so informed and aware of how our brains work that I understand that our brains are complex, right? But we have this primitive part of our brain, right? The reptilian brain, which is very powerful, and it's responsible for the most basic functions of living, the fight or flight instinct, like hunger, mating. And these advertisers know, how to manipulate the story to beyond our conscious thought. That we want those things without being conscious of it. Yeah, humanity needs to wake up to that.
Oh, yeah. And, if you ever even notice, like, movies and TV shows, you're sitting there watching the show, and all of a sudden you see a certain brand soda sitting there on the counter, or you see a certain brand bicycle against the wall, which they make it quite obvious what brand it is, and it's all, to get you to want, hey, I want a Coke. Oh, I want to buy a Trek bike. I want to buy this without you realizing it. I mean, it's all... nowadays, everything is geared up for your psychic. I mean, without you realizing it.
Yeah, I think it's getting more and more. We're seeing more and more of that. And if you look at what the message is with a lot of these advertisements, you want it because it's going to make you happy. Drink Coke because it's going to make you happy. Eat Snickers because it's going to make you cool. It's not going to do that. Guys, It's not going to do that. It's a bunch of BS. There's a lot of lies in this world, and that's part of our individual growth process is to recognize all the nonsense and BS in the world and detach from that.
Oh, come on. I have had 8 kids. Douglas, I have 8 kids. They're all adults now. But I remember when they were little, right? Because Ronald McDonald on TV. Okay, you get in the car and, you're going for a ride. Well, the first thing out of the kid's mouth, let's go to McDonald's. Yo, okay.
Happy Meal.
Yeah, I want to happy. Yeah, they're brainwashed, and they're brainwashed now at a 2-3-year-old is totally brainwashed, and that's the way he's going to end up developing. I hate to say it, the rest of his life. I mean, you started out, let's say, at 3 years old, telling, "Hey, Mom, Dad, I want to go to McDonald's. I want a Happy Meal," right? Well, guess where you're going for the rest of your life? The majority of people, guess what? Their idea of going out to eat is McDonald's.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and so when I look at the world, I think you probably feel similar. We're on the brink of there just has to be a massive shift in consciousness, and from the diets that we eat to the way that we think about other countries. I think that the concept of nationalism, that Americans are great and not think about the rest of the world, I think that's going to go. And it's just one of my things in life, too, that human beings need to start taking care of each other across oceans. We need to spread democracy because it's not just good for Americans. Human beings need to have a say in their process of government. And when we see other countries cheating, or even here in the United States, when democracy is subverted, by the establishment. All of us, everywhere, having a vested interest. Look, we're either going to thrive, all of us, and we will have those flying cars, and we will tackle cancer and extend human lifespan, but not until all of us are helping each other. I want to invest in every child's education and health, because I know that, call it God or the universe, it gives us all those answers. Imagine if Einstein never got an education. How huge would that blow be to where we're at in the world, or all these great minds and people? But that potential is in everyone.
Yeah,
I know
but
it's not really paranormal, but
I know it's not. We're off the paranormal thing, but I will say this. Okay, now, you can have the best education in the country or the world, right? At your college or high school or grade school. What good is it going to do if there's only service jobs out there, because we gave all our jobs away out of this country? So, I'm going to say this. Our president is doing all these tariffs, right, on China. And I had a cough there. I'm sorry. And okay, you know what? Maybe he thinks it's a good idea, but how about the people who are losing their jobs over it right now?
Yeah, well, as we talked before the show started, in terms of how much politics we can get into, I think that another part of our evolution as a species is to recognize that there's a certain kind of person, typically, who's drawn to politics, and beyond that, to positions of power. And why we see corruption so often in our current world and throughout history, that, like, woven into the fabric of human beings and the goodness, there are people in this world who have no conscience. It's not there. Medically, we understand it now. They are greedy. They are arrogant. And when I talk about greed, it's not just money, it's power. And this is why we see child sex rings, why we ever had slavery, why we have things like puppy mills, pharmaceutical companies. They just don't care. They are purely profit. And they're not bad, they're not evil, but they're there, and it's not their fault for being exactly what the universe made them.
Well,
every human being. So
I don't know. I don't understand. How? You hear what happened in Warsaw back with the Nazis, right? They just gathered up all these people, right? They knew they were going to be starved to death. They were going to be executed, all this stuff, right? But they just didn't do anything. Now, we look even at our own country right now, what's going on. Now, I'm going to mention the terrorists again, because I happened to make a phone call here last week to a guy who owned one of the last companies that made TVs in this country. I thought it was Curtis Matthews 30-some years ago was the last company that made TVs before they all got, in China and Korea and Taiwan, okay? Well, I was wrong. So this guy had 100 and some employees. He's laying them all off because now he can't get the components, because we don't make the components in this country anymore to make TVs. But he was the last company that actually assembled, TVs in this country. Well, because of terrorists, he can't get the parts in, at a reasonable price. He can't export it now at a reasonable price. He can't pay his employees, so he's going out of business. Hey, here, very shortly, you go out and buy in the next couple of weeks a TV that was on sale at Walmart last week, a 42-inch TV for $200 and some bucks. In a couple of weeks, you're going to get that same TV for 40% more. Now, what I'm saying is, like today, Amazon announced that they're going to start out their employees, and all the employees that's making under $15 an hour will make $15 an hour. Try to live on $15 an hour. Try it. Let alone now, when the tariffs going on here, when it starts actually, the supplies start running out in this country, people, are going to see the prices go up on stuff drastically. How is the average person going to pay for stuff? Well, I guess they're not going to buy a new TV. They'll buy a used one. I mean, and then what happens is, like Walmart said, well, you know what we're going to have to do is either raise our prices or get rid of some of our employees.
Well, and kind of the point I was getting at with politicians, yes, they're arrogant and greedy oftentimes, but also they're just dumb. They are stupid. If you watch that documentary about the Enron scandal, the smartest guys in the room, and yeah, they thought they were brilliant and they're making money, and it's that they're cutting corners and doing all these devious things. Ultimately, undermine the company. The company collapses. Look at the financial collapse. And I spent 10 years as a commodity broker, and not just in my day to day. I was interested in the financial world and the housing market bubble and all this. These greedy fools at the top. I mean, the heads of all these loan brokers. They think they're so damn smart, and they're not. And it's just, again, human history playing out again. The tariffs. I mean, we've seen through history that doesn't work, and it doesn't work when you have this kind of wealth disparity in the country. And I fear for the future of this country as a democracy and as an economy.
What economy?
It's not healthy. Oh, go ahead.
What economy? Because you know what? Let's face it, when the housing bubble burst, it was because, I'll tell you what, you didn't even have to have a job to go out and get a mortgage. You could sit there and lie and say, I make this amount of money. They didn't care because all they cared about because they were making money on their commissions.
They don't
right.
care.
They don't care.
Right.
Now,
they don't care.
We are so close to a worse bubble than we were the last time. And if it happens, the government don't even have a plan or doesn't even have the money to try to fix it. And I'm scared we're going right into that hole right now.
Yeah.
And it's just like the earth changes, right? Al Gore, was telling everybody years and years ago what was going to happen. People labeled him as a fruitcake. Okay, the scientists say, oh, no, that's never going to happen. Well, look what's happening. Okay, you can't run a country this way. You can't run you can't get rid of the EPA and expect and loosen up the mercury laws where they can dump more mercury in waste product and all this stuff that's going on. It's totally crazy. Yeah, it creates a few jobs, but it's going to cause a bubble where when it bursts, we're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Watch the dominoes fall. It's going to be ugly. And so because a lot of people at the top, the CEOs, watch these guys that jack up their own salary to the point that the whole company collapses, stupid politicians, on and on throughout history. That's why we need regulations. And idiots say, well, the deregulation is all. It's not always yes or no, but there's a reason that government exists, and it's to stop that greed from running amok. Capitalism is great, but capitalism unchecked leads to what? Child labor, slave labor, unsafe working conditions, toxic products. It has to be there. It's recognizing that some people, and the psychopaths, my friend, the sociopaths, they keep trying to change the goalposts. I've had roommates here in Hollywood that exactly like the arrogance. They cheat me on the bills. You call them on it. They'll never apologize. If they're extreme characters, and life would be boring without them. But no one ever really talks about it honestly and says that it's not 0.1%. It's about maybe 5% of the human race that have this genetic condition.
Well, I think it's higher than that.
Sympathetic to say, look, I don't hate them. I don't judge them because I know it's conditioned. I can't judge someone for being what they are, but then it falls on me to clock them on it, to check them on it. And they're just there to push humanity together. And that's Hitler. That's every tyrant throughout human history. And so getting into the paranormal, to segue, I talked to maybe our universe. We talked about the universe versus the multiverse. I'm convinced it is a multiverse. Our eyes and senses can only perceive one reality, one time stream, one universe of an infinite number. And so if it is, it's a star to me. Everything's light. We come from stars. Then, and this gets into religion too, that God's hand in our life is to both simultaneously support us and also pressure us. Because without struggle and pressure, there's no growth. And so it's gravity. It's greed. Now, understanding that, go read all your mythology. Go read about Thor and his ancient enemy, the Midgard serpent, the dragon. And go read Beowulf, and his enemy was the dragon. And then go read about Zeus, and Zeus's father was Kronos. It's an analogy. It's a metaphor for a star that dies. And that's why the father always fears the son. The son someday will replace the father. And it's a supernova. I think all you